Okay, well, welcome everyone. This is a video that is accompanying today's assignment, which is on analyzing political cartoons. This video will go along with the handouts that you can find linked and attached below this video. You should find there 4 pages, 2 pages of questions, and 2 cartoons. Cartoon 1, Cartoon 2, that we will work with here in a few minutes. Before we get on to the meat of today's assignment, I wanted to go through a few ideas on analyzing political cartoons, some of the things to look at a few political cartoons from our period right now, from today, to give us a kind of an idea of the power and the use of political cartoons or any media for that matter in influencing public opinion and so forth. So let's see. All right. So when we're analyzing political cartoons, we want to pay attention to a few things, right? The first thing we ought to do is source the cartoon. And this is true. Today we're talking about cartoons, but this would be any primary source for that matter. We could be talking about cartoons. We can talk about pieces of music, essays, letters, pieces of other pieces of art, and the same would be true. So sourcing the cartoon. Where was it produced? When was it produced? Who was the artist that produced it? Or anything else any other information that we can come up with that may help us start to dig into the meaning of the cartoon and its the direction or that it's trying to lead us, or the message it's trying to sell to us. Number 2, we just take a look at the cartoon closely. Are there any symbols used in the cartoon? And we'll take a look at the ones that we're going to be working with today a little bit later, where there's some symbols being used that if you don't understand those symbols, it'll be very difficult for you to get a complete understanding. Third, what's the message, right? We're trying to determine what's the message that's trying to be sold by the artist here. What are they trying to convince us of? And then from that, we can get an idea of what the point of view of this artist is. Is he a Democrat-leaning artist? Is he a Republican-leaning artist? Is he more liberal? Is he more conservative? Is she a farmer, or she creating this art from the perspective of the farmer, of the factory owner, of the enslaved African American, of the slaveholder or the plantation owner? So we can start to pull some of the meaning out of these cartoons, and it'll help us better understand them and have a fuller picture of what's being talked about here. All right, so let's look at this cartoon. This one is from this year, April of this year. And just take a moment. I'll give you a few seconds to look at the cartoon and see if you can decide or figure out what the important issue is here and what the message is. Of course, we should source it, so I'll tell you ahead of time. As you can see down in the corner, this is from a newspaper called The Columbian, which is based in Washington State. All right, so what we have here, and by the way, you can pause this video at any time if you wanted to spend more time with each one of these cartoons. But what we have here is the same exact lady holding up a sign in protest, from one from 2018, one from 2020. And in this case, you would have to have some background knowledge, right? You'd have to know who Brett Kavanaugh is. You'd have to know who Tara Reade is. You'd have to know who Joe Biden is. You'd have to be familiar with the 2018 confirmation struggle or hearings of Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court, and some of the protests being launched against that process. And you'd have to have an understanding of who Tara Reade is and the accusations made by Tara Reade against Joe Biden in the context of the 2020 election. And then this picture becomes much more clear, right? Kavanaugh was accused of some improprieties while he was in college, dealing with a female who accused him of this, and from the perspective of this artist, protesters thought that all women should be believed, and that would disqualify Kavanaugh, of course. And then fast forward to 2020, those same people would be supporters of Joe Biden, and Tara Reade, who made accusations of improprieties against Joe Biden, well, maybe she doesn't fit the same mold as Kavanaugh's accusers, right? And so it moves from believe all women to believe some women. That's the message here. Whether you agree with it or not, or whether I agree with it or not, doesn't matter. This is the message being sold by this particular artist. And obviously, we can see from this is a more right-leaning, Republican-leaning, Trump-leading point of view being displayed here. That's the message. Okay, we'll pick another one from even more recent, from this month, just a few days ago, actually from yesterday, from the Sacramento Bee out in California. And you'd have to understand what's going on in the news today, right? One of the big stories in the news today is the Supreme Court nomination or hearings, confirmation hearings for Trump's latest Supreme Court nominee, Coney Barrett, here in the second panel. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, of course, passed away a few weeks ago, and the nominee for replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg is Judge Coney Barrett. Of course, this is Trump portrayed in this column with TBD above. That's to be determined. I guess that's the election of Donald Trump. And then RIP, of course, which stands for rest in peace. These three initial kind of theme here is all playing off of RBG, which is something that most people would recognize as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and kind of her nickname, if you will, were her initials. And then all of the issues, all of the rights that would be ripped away and die for the American people if Trump's nominee, Amy Coney Barrett, was confirmed. Once we get all of that together, pull all of that together, this is obviously an anti-Trump, anti-Republican, perhaps, point of view, and it gives us a better understanding of the point of view of the artist and what the message is. Correct? Okay, so we've seen two different perspectives, right? Here, and these are kind of current examples. Political cartoons are meant as satire. They're meant to sell a message through humor, and usually taken with that in mind, right? However, as we've seen from some less recent but still relatively recent situations, this is 2011 cover of a magazine named Charlie Hebdo from Paris, or from France. It's based in Paris. And they had made one of their targets of their satire or their political commentary Islam, and have a number of times portrayed, as we see here, the image of Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, which in most sects, in most interpretations of the Quran, is something that's forbidden. Any artist's depiction of the Prophet Muhammad. This landed Charlie Hebdo in the crosshairs of Al-Qaeda on the Arabian Peninsula, a terrorist organization. And in, I believe, 2015, let me get the exact date on that. January 7, 2015, a couple of brothers who were members of Al-Qaeda entered the offices of Charlie Hebdo, killed a dozen people, injured another 11, in reaction to their political commentary, in reaction to the political cartoons that showed up in their publication, attacking or depicting the Prophet Muhammad and other symbols of Islam. So this is political satire gone terribly wrong, right, and ending in a terrible terrorist or violent attack. So it's not all just for fun and games, right? There's some serious consequences sometimes to these pieces of art. All right. The two that we're going to look at today, or you're going to look at, are these two Harper's Weekly cartoons. I'm not going to tell you much more about them because I want you to dig into them. However, I will give you a heads up. In this first cartoon, there's going to be a question about Colombia. This is who we're talking about here. This is the woman in both of these panels. Colombia is meant to be a symbol of the United States. So when you see the figure of Colombia, the name Colombia being mentioned in cartoons, it often is referring to the United States or the symbol of the United States, much as if Uncle Sam were being used, or maybe even the Statue of Liberty, or any recognizable symbol of the United States. So that's what that's supposed to symbolize there. I'll leave the rest of it kind of for you to dig through. And I think she also shows up in the second cartoon, kind of presiding over this situation down here. So you can see Colombia up there kind of hovering over the scene. All right, so let me blow this back out. Hope that helped. I know I kind of drew that out a little bit, but I hope that's helpful in getting you through this assignment, but more importantly, and helpful in getting you to think about not only political cartoons. You may not come across many political cartoons, but the music we listen to every time you put your earbuds in, the video that we watch through streaming services like YouTube or television shows or movies, things we read. These are all things that have an influence over us. Sometimes we don't, oftentimes we don't acknowledge that and we don't even recognize it. But media is produced in order to elicit a reaction and to often sell a message, okay? Doesn't mean it's deceitful or anything untoward, but it's something that we should be aware of. So work yourself through the first questions that are for sourcing, then tackle the first cartoon. After you finish that, go to the second cartoon and answer the questions for the second cartoon, and then pull it all together with the last 3 or 4 questions. When you turn this in, all I need are the answers to your questions. If you print these out and write on them, fantastic, that's fine. Or if you just want to type a separate document, you can type out the numbers of the questions and your answers and then submit that. Okay? Alrighty. Well, that's it for this assignment. If you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to send me a message through the phone number, the Google phone number that you can find on the home page in Canvas, or through email. Any questions that you might have, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. All right. Well, good luck with this assignment, and we'll see you again soon.